Previously, Jinwoo activated the mutilation skill, unleashing a relentless series of slashes that rained down upon the Ant King's body. The monstrous foe was cut down in an instant, his body collapsing under the sheer ferocity of the attack. With their king defeated, the ant monsters broke ranks, their once unified force now in disarray. Chaos spread through the nest as they scattered, fleeing in every direction. The hunters, witnessing the downfall of their formidable adversary, let out a collective sigh of relief. The battle, it seemed, was finally over. However, their relief was short-lived. Hunter Cha lay in critical condition, her body barely clinging to life. Jinwoo rushed to her side, his heart pounding as he assessed her state. Without hesitation, he pulled out the holy water of life, hoping, praying, that the miraculous potion would heal her wounds. But the moment he attempted to administer it, a system notification shattered his hopes. The drug was ineffective. It did not apply to her condition. His mind raced, desperately searching for another solution. And then, suddenly, an idea took shape. Turning to the cameraman, Jinwoo's expression grew serious. He demanded that the broadcast be cut off, just for a moment. The cameraman hesitated. This was a live broadcast, an event being watched by countless people. But something in Jinwoo's voice, in the intensity of his gaze, made him pause. There was no room for argument. Reluctantly, the cameraman complied. Without wasting another second, Jinwoo commanded his shadow warriors to locate the body of Hunter Min Byung-gu. It didn't take long before one of the High Orc shadow generals returned, carrying the lifeless form of the healer. As Jinwoo scanned the corpse, his expression hardened. The Ant King had devoured Byung-gu's head. Doubt seeped into his mind. Would this even work? Just as uncertainty threatened to take hold, a notification appeared before him. Shadow extraction could be used on this target. Yanho, standing nearby, was clearly confused. He questioned Jinwoo's actions, demanding to know why he was handling Byung-gu's remains. But Jinwoo ignored him, stepping closer to the body. He took a steady breath, then spoke a single word: arise. A dark shadow seeped from Min Byung-gu's corpse, curling and twisting unnaturally. But then, another notification interrupted him. Extraction failed. Jinwoo frowned. That didn't make sense. At his current level, shadow extraction should have worked effortlessly. He tried again. Failure. A cold realization settled in. Min Byung-gu's spirit was resisting. He was refusing to be summoned. For a brief moment, Jinwoo hesitated. He understood how this must look to the others. The power to summon the dead. It was something unnatural, something that could be perceived as demonic. But someone's life was at stake. He couldn't afford to hesitate. Clenching his jaw, he tried once more. Arise. This time, the corpse reacted. A dense, impenetrable blackness enveloped Min Byung-gu's form, shifting and twisting as the transformation took place. Yanho's voice rang out, thick with anger, demanding to know what Jinwoo was doing to their fallen comrade's body. But then, his fury turned into shock as the impossible unfolded before his eyes. Min Byung-gu had risen. The other hunters stood frozen, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. A power that defied all logic had just been displayed before them. But there was no time to dwell on it. Without awaiting any command, Shadow Min Byung-gu moved on his own. He approached Hunter Cha with calm precision, raising a hand over her broken body. In an instant, healing magic flowed from him, restoring her life just as she teetered on the brink of death. Yunho watched, eyes wide with disbelief. His mind struggled to process the events unfolding before him. Meanwhile, Jinwoo, noticing his expression, finally spoke. He explained that when he resurrected someone as a shadow, he could sense their nature, their truest instincts from when they were alive. For Min Byung-gu, his devotion as a healer had been so powerful that even in death it remained. He had acted not out of obedience, but out of an unshakable duty to heal. The cameraman stood in silence, his hands trembling slightly. Now he understood why Jinwoo had demanded the camera be turned off. The ability to raise the dead, this power was too dangerous to be revealed to the world. Yanho slowly stepped forward, placing a firm hand on Jinwoo's shoulder. His voice, though steady, carried the weight of deep contemplation. He admitted that Jinwoo was destined to achieve incredible things, to shape the very course of history. He also acknowledged that Byung-gu's power would be a tremendous asset in the battles to come. But then, in a quieter tone, he asked Jinwoo not to force Byung-gu into anything beyond his will. Jinwoo brushed Yanho's hand off, his expression unreadable. He reminded Yanho that this was now the second time he had touched his shoulder. But then, after a brief pause, a small smile crept onto his face. This time, he could tell that Yanho's gesture wasn't about authority or orders. It was a sincere request. Walking towards Shadow Min Byung-gu, Jinwoo made his decision. He agreed with Yanho. Cancel extraction. Slowly, Shadow Min Byung-gu began to fade, his form dissolving back into the afterlife. Before disappearing completely, he cast one final smile toward Yanho. Yanho stood still, returning the smile with deep respect. It was a difficult choice, but he knew it was the right one. A heavy silence followed, leaving the hunters with mixed emotions as they watched one of their heroes leave for the final time. Meanwhile, through the heavy rain, a helicopter approached Jeju Island, ready to pick up the hunters. Their battle had ended, but the weight of everything they had experienced remained heavy on their shoulders. As they walked toward the helicopter, sadness was clearly etched on their faces. Once everyone was aboard, Jinwoo turned to Yeonho, telling him to leave first. There was still something he needed to take care of. From a distance, a remaining swarm of ant monsters could be seen flying over Jeju Island. Jinwoo summoned Kaisel, the mighty shadow dragon, and quickly leaped onto its back. Without hesitation, he soared into the sky, determined to clear the island of the remaining monsters. As they flew, Jinwoo attacked the scattered ant monsters with precise and deadly efficiency, ensuring the hunters could leave the island safely. Meanwhile, aboard the Japanese warship where the Japanese team had gathered, Hoshino was still visibly shaken. His hands trembled as the other Japanese hunters approached him, eager to hear what had happened. His voice was unsteady, as he muttered that the monster he had seen was no ordinary enemy. Not even Goto Ryuji could stand a chance against it. There wasn't a single hunter in the world who could defeat a monster like that. Sugimoto stepped in, trying to calm Hoshino down. He reminded him that the raid on Jeju Island was over, but Hoshino's eyes widened in disbelief. It sounded impossible. Sugimoto then recalled something Ryuji had once mentioned, about a powerful hunter from Korea. A troubling thought formed in his mind. Could Sung Jinwoo be the one who had defeated that monster? Just then, a crew member rushed in with a report. A swarm of ants had been detected near the ship. The hunters were immediately ordered to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, Jinwoo returned to the ant nest, determined to finish the job. His shadow mages unleashed fire magic, instantly burning the unhatched ant eggs scattered throughout the nest. As he watched the flames consume them, Jinwoo was both surprised and pleased. Destroying unhatched eggs still earned him extra experience points. The unexpected bonus made the cleanup even more satisfying. Opening his inventory, Jinwoo retrieved the Demon King's longsword, an incredible weapon he had acquired from the Demon Castle. He gripped the hilt, eager to test its power. As he swung the blade, a crackling bolt of lightning erupted from the sword, shaking the ground with its immense force. Astonished by the weapon's destructive potential, Jinwoo realized it would be a waste to let it sit unused in his inventory. He decided to wield it to eliminate the remaining ant eggs, ensuring that no future threat would arise from this nest. The scene then shifted to the United States, where two high-ranking officials, Michael Connor and David Brennan, the director of the American Hunter Bureau, sat watching a replay of the Jeju Island raid. Michael leaned back, commenting on how extraordinary it was for a hunter to control hundreds of creatures. However, he expressed regret that such a powerful hunter came from a small country like Korea. David, however, was not as dismissive. His sharp gaze remained fixed on the screen, analyzing every detail. After a long silence, he turned to Michael and asked in a serious tone, "What else do you know about this hunter?" Michael handed over a file, his expression turning grim. He explained that there was a connection between Sung Jinwoo and the fire incident involving Sung Il-hwan. David's eyes narrowed as he flipped through the documents, realizing that Sung Jinwoo was someone they could no longer ignore. Jinwoo Sung Il-hwan had been found alive in an A-rank dungeon. Although he claimed to be a Korean hunter, doubts lingered about whether he was truly human or something else entirely. Further investigation revealed that Jinwoo was his son. David looked stunned, realizing this was a rare opportunity to recruit someone of Jinwoo's caliber, even if it risked straining relations between the US and Korea, especially after America had already successfully recruited Dong. Still, a hunter like Jinwoo was worth the effort, no matter the cost. David then turned to Michael and asked if he was capable of handling the task. Back on Jeju Island, after eliminating the remaining ant monsters, Jinwoo had finally reached level 100. He approached the corpse of the Ant King, intending to extract its shadow. "Arise," he commanded. Suddenly, a dark aura surrounded him. Something felt off. Was this the result of a failed shadow extraction? But as the darkness faded, Jinwoo turned and smiled. The Ant King had been successfully extracted and had now become a ranked General Shadow. The newly risen shadow knelt before him and, to his astonishment, spoke. It expressed a desire for a name. Jinwoo was stunned. He had never heard any of his other shadows speak before. He immediately asked how it could talk, and the ant explained that it had been able to speak even before its death. Jinwoo thought back to Byung, Iron, and even Tusk, who had all lost the ability to speak after becoming shadows. He wondered if general-level shadows could ever regain their voices. After a moment of thought, he decided on a name, Beru, inspired by the author of a famous novel. Afterward, he approached the Ant Queen's corpse and attempted to extract her shadow. "Arise." Slowly, black shadows emerged from the Ant Queen's body, signaling a successful extraction. She had become another ranked general, but suddenly control over the shadow ant soldiers shifted from Beru to the Ant Queen. Jinwoo was taken aback and turned to Beru for an explanation. Beru clarified that the Ant Queen's primary ability had been reproduction and controlling the entire ant colony. That meant all the shadow ants now fell under her command. Jinwoo frowned. There was no need for two leaders in his shadow army. Without hesitation, he made the decision to cancel the Ant Queen's shadow extraction. Meanwhile, the Shadow Knights continued tirelessly gathering magic crystals. Jinwoo stopped them, explaining that the crystals would be used to rebuild Jeju Island, rather than being hoarded. Instead, he took only Beru's magic core as a reward for his contribution to the raid, demonstrating both his power and his sense of responsibility. Jinwoo then turned to Beru and asked how many ants remained. Beru reported that before the raid, The ant colony had numbered about 8,700, but now only 4,000 remained. Jinwoo sighed deeply. There was still a lot of work to do. Looking at Baru, he issued a new command: wipe out the remaining ants. Baru bowed respectfully and declared that he would carry out his master's order without hesitation. At the ocean defense line, hunters were engaged in an all-out battle against swarms of flying ants. Warship cannons fired relentlessly, while mage hunters unleashed long-range attacks, trying to bring down the creatures in the sky. Hunters from the White Tiger Guild were preparing for their next assault, with those from the Fame Guild and Reaper Guild also joining the fray. Amid the chaos, Lee Minung stood paralyzed with fear. Despite being an A-rank hunter, his terrified expression drew a scornful glance from a passing hunter, who muttered that Minung was useless. Closer to the shoreline, retired hunters braced themselves to stop any ants that might break through and reach the city. Mr. Song stood anxiously, watching as the swarm of ants approached, growing closer by the second. Just as the ants were about to attack, they were suddenly obliterated. It happened so fast that Jui and Mr. Song couldn't even see what had taken place. Moving at incredible speed, Beru tore through the flying ants in the sky, wiping them. G them out with flawless accuracy. The Jew Island raid was finally over. It had taken 2 days to clear the ant colony that had invaded Korea. Most of the ants had been eradicated, but some had managed to escape, flying into the Sea of China. A national-level hunter stood tall, staring down the swarms of ants scattered across the sky. He calmly sized up the many enemies before him, then drew his 2 swords. A surge of magical energy enveloped his body as he released an attack so powerful that dozens of ants were instantly wiped out, their lifeless bodies plummeting into the sea. He sheathed his swords and thought to himself that if the ants Jinwoo had already defeated were still alive, this fight might have been much more interesting for him. Meanwhile, a man watched the battle between Jinwoo and the Ant King closely. His assistant, Laura, explained that Jinwoo might have a problem with Hong Dong-soo. Rumors were spreading that Jinwoo was the mastermind behind the death of Hong Dong-soo's older brother. The man, Thomas Andre, a national-level hunter and master of the Scavenger Guild in America, realized that if the rumors were true, a feud between Dong-soo and Jinwoo was inevitable. Unfortunately, conflicts like these would only make it harder for him to recruit such a talented hunter. Laura then asked what he would do if the conflict between Dong-soo and Jinwoo escalated. Thomas gave a sharp, decisive look. To him, Hong Dong-soo was part of the Scavenger Guild, and the Scavenger Guild was his. No one, not even the government, was allowed to touch what belonged to him. Later that night on Jew Island, hunters from the Knights Guild patrolled the area, collecting magic stones and keeping watch. As they passed an ant nest, Jong-soo started talking about his past. He considered it a tragic and sad story, but to his junior, it sounded ridiculous. As they continued gathering cries, tails, a monster ant suddenly appeared. Without hesitation, Jong-soo sprang into action, decapitating the ant instantly. He then reassured the mining team that if more ants showed up, he would take care of them. However, their peace was soon shattered. A mysterious figure appeared out of nowhere, walking toward them. Jong-soo immediately warned that the figure was in a restricted area and demanded to know who they were. The hunters grew nervous, wondering if the figure was even human. Preparing to act, they watched as the figure glared at them and spoke in an unintelligible language. Jong-soo quickly realized it wasn't human, it was a monster. Suddenly, someone snapped their fingers. A dreadful aura spread across the area, and in an instant, all the hunters fainted. At the same time, another terrifying figure emerged from behind the first. The 2 figures were the Beast Monarch and the Frost Monarch. The Frost Monarch explained that he had merely put the hunters to sleep for a while so they wouldn't cause a disturbance. He sensed remnants of monarch power in the area, and was puzzled as to why the creature was aiding humanity. The Beast Monarch smirked and replied that if the Frost Monarch was so curious, he could simply ask the creature itself. However, the Frost Monarch ignored him. With another snap of his fingers, he opened a dimensional portal. He declared that the hunt for the creature would proceed as planned, and that he first needed to deal with another being, one that was likely still nearby. The Beast Monarch merely observed in silence, his expression unreadable, taunting him. The Frost Monarch smirked, realizing that the Beast Monarch had no intention of getting involved. The Frost Monarch admitted as much and stepped into a dimensional portal, vanishing from sight. The Beast Monarch, sharing the same sentiment, saw no reason to stir unnecessary trouble. With a swipe of his claws, he tore open his own dimensional gate and followed after. In the aftermath of the successful raid on Jew Island, a deep sorrow settled over the hunters and the people of Korea. The country mourned as it held a funeral for those who had fallen in the 5th and final raid. Among the 481 hunters who participated, 64 had lost their lives, along with 32 civilians. Though the casualties were devastating, the numbers were significantly lower than those of the 4 previous failed raids. Among the crowd, Jinwoo silently attended the ceremony, placing a single flower in honor of the fallen. His presence did not go unnoticed. He had become the hottest topic in the media, stirring up both admiration and controversy. Some praised his incredible abilities, especially after he single-handedly cleared an S-rank gate. Many speculated that his power was now on par with that of national-level hunters, but not everyone supported him. Critics questioned his actions, arguing that if he had joined the raid from the very beginning, perhaps Hunter Min Byung-gu might still be alive. As the ceremony continued, Jinwoo found himself crossing paths with Chairman Go Gun-hee, who had a solemn expression. However, before they could exchange words, another familiar figure approached, Hunter Cha Hae-in. Their eyes met for a brief moment, but just as quickly, Cha turned away, her face flushing red. Jinwoo was left puzzled by her sudden and strange behavior. At the same event, another hunter, Woo Jin-chul, approached Jinwoo with a firm yet grateful look. He admitted that he had once believed that no war could be won by a single person, that hunters had to work together to achieve victory. But he was wrong. Jinwoo had proven otherwise. With tears brimming in his eyes, Woo Jin-chul expressed his gratitude, telling Jinwoo to hold his head high because, in the end, he was the one who had ended this long and tragic struggle. After the funeral, Jinwoo met with Chairman Go Gun-hee, the leader of the Corps, Ian Hunters Association. During their conversation, Jinwoo revealed his decision to form his own guild. Chairman Go responded without hesitation, assuring him that the association would handle all the necessary arrangements. However, he then brought up an unusual incident. He asked Jinwoo if he had placed any kind of barrier over Jew Island because something strange had occurred. Hunters from the Knights Guild, who had been sent to collect magic crystals from the ant nest, had suddenly collapsed without warning. They lost consciousness as soon as they entered, and when they awoke, they had no recollection of what had happened. This revelation took Jinwoo by surprise. He was certain that he hadn't set any traps or barriers in the area. Still, the mystery unsettled him, making him wonder if something had been left behind by the ants. Their conversation was soon interrupted by an association staff member who reported that someone had requested an urgent meeting with Chairman Go. Excusing himself, Chairman Go left, and Jinwoo prepared to head home. As he walked toward his car in the parking lot, a strange man suddenly approached him. The man introduced himself as Adam White, a senior agent from the United States Bureau of Hunters, handing Jinwoo a business card. Recognizing the name from what Yoo Jin-ho had mentioned earlier, Jinwoo immediately asked what he wanted. Adam explained that he had valuable information that no country or institution would willingly share. He hinted that what he knew could be beneficial to both parties. He also noted that the Bureau had been keeping a close eye on Jinwoo and was highly impressed by his performance during the Jew Island raid. However, Adam refused to discuss further details in the parking lot. Instead, he offered Jinwoo a private meeting with the Bureau's deputy director, who could provide him with more in-depth information. Jinwoo hesitated for a moment, uninterested in getting involved in something that didn't concern him. He dismissed the offer and turned to get into his car, but before he could leave, Adam spoke again, this time mentioning something that stopped Jinwoo in his tracks. He brought up the existence of an upgrader, someone with the ability to enhance the powers of other hunters. That caught Jinwoo's attention. His curiosity now piqued. He made the decision to follow Adam White and hear what he had to say. Adam led Jinwoo to a luxury hotel where the deputy director of the American Hunter Association was waiting for them. As they entered the private meeting room, a man greeted them with a confident smile. He introduced himself as Michael Connor and wasted no time getting straight to the point. Without hesitation, he handed Jinwoo a set of immigration papers, offering him the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. Jinwoo's expression darkened, clearly irritated by the sudden shift in conversation. He had come expecting valuable information, not a recruitment attempt. He made his stance clear, emphasizing that he was only interested in what they had to tell him. Michael, unfazed by Jinwoo's reaction, simply smiled. He assured him that the person capable of providing that information was already here. With a subtle gesture, he signaled to his assistant, who quickly left the room. Moments later, a woman was escorted inside. Michael introduced her as Norma Selner, a unique existence, the only person in the world capable of enhancing a hunter's power beyond its natural limits. Jinwoo studied the woman carefully. He could immediately sense that there was something different about her compared to other hunters. She didn't radiate the overwhelming energy of an awakened individual, yet there was something unusual about her presence. Michael then asked her to explain her ability. With a calm and composed demeanor, Ms. Selner began to speak. She acknowledged that her power might be difficult to believe, but she insisted that it was real. Her ability allowed a hunter to surpass the natural limits of their power. She described it as a forced reawakening process, divided into 3 distinct stages. Jinwoo, intrigued by her claim, asked how much of an increase a hunter could expect. Ms. Selner explained that the results varied, but by the time someone reached the 3rd stage, their power could increase by anywhere from 20% to 30%. Hearing this, Jinwoo began making connections in his mind. He recalled Hunter Hwang Dong-soo and his sudden rise in strength after moving to America. If this ability truly existed, it made sense why someone like Dong-soo would have accepted the offer. After all, for a hunter, the chance to grow stronger was almost impossible to refuse. Michael, sensing Jinwoo's curiosity, leaned in slightly. He emphasized that Ms. Selner's ability was a rare privilege, one that they were willing to extend to him as a special gift. If he agreed to become an American hunter, they would prioritize him for this enhancement. allowing him the freedom to choose any guild he wanted. Ms. Selner, maintaining a gentle tone, reassured him that there was no rush. She suggested that he at least allow her to unlock the first stage of his potential as a goodwill gesture. She asked him to consider it a gift from them. Jinwoo found himself intrigued. If this woman was so confident in her abilities, it only made him more curious. He decided to test it for himself. Ms. Selner reached out, gently taking Jinwoo's hand in hers. She then asked him to look into her eyes. Ms. Selner took a deep breath and activated her ability. In an instant, her consciousness plunged deep into Jinwoo's soul, attempting to unlock the hidden potential within him. However, the deeper she went, the denser and darker the space became. What should have been a simple process quickly turned into something completely unexpected. A suffocating emptiness spread around her, a void so vast and endless that it swallowed all light. Then, in the heart of that abyss, something appeared. A mysterious figure, veiled in darkness, emerged from the void. Its piercing gaze locked onto Ms. Selner, radiating an overwhelming presence. Her body tensed. A cold, paralyzing fear seized her as she struggled to move, and then she screamed.